I'm Brian Bender, and let's queer up the worldview. Pornhub restricts access in Australia ahead of age verification rules, citing privacy and safety concerns. Access to Pornhub, the world's largest adult video content site, is currently restricted for users in Australia. The change comes as the country prepares to introduce stricter age verification regulations aimed at reducing children's exposure to harmful online material. Pornhub's parent company, ILO, which also operates RedTube, YouPorn, and Tube8, has begun limiting access for Australian users. While the site remains partially available, only non-explicit, safe-for-work content is currently available. The restriction arrives ahead of new rules from the Australian Safety Commissioner. According to reports, ILO confirmed its video sharing platforms will, quote, access to adult materials before the deadline on March 9th, end quote. Under Phase 2 of the regulation, websites hosting pornographic or age-restricted material must implement systems verifying users' ages, including facial age estimation, digital identity wallets, or photo identification. Non-compliant companies could face fines of up to $49.5 million per breach. Similar restrictions have already appeared in the United Kingdom and across multiple U.S. states, including right here in Florida, where VPN usage surged after access to Pornhub was blocked. I am neither going to confirm or deny that I have access to a VPN, because that would be none of your business and none of the state's business. But I also want to say it's a good idea to protect children against pornography. It's the problem I have is when things that are not pornographic are labeled as pornographic. And not to take us off topic, but I think it's all part of the same umbrella. We could all be for protecting children against things that are inappropriate for them, for sure. I don't want children to see some of the things that I have seen online. I don't want other adults to see that either, actually. Yeah. So I get that. But when you start saying that drag queens are pornographic, and when you start saying that certain speech is pornographic, and when you start saying that learning about a person's body is pornographic, it's a very slippery slope. And that's the only thing I'm going to say. If they're doing this in good faith, which I have no reason to think that Australia wouldn't be. They seem to be quite progressive. So I want to think that they've really thought this out, and they're not like us in certain sectors of the country where they just kind of make knee-jerk religious decisions for the rest of us. I want to think that this is really well thought out, and hopefully this doesn't lead to censorship.
Well, and it's an umbrella, isn't it, for all types of pornography. Sure. It's not just LGBTQ+. Sure, but that's a good point, that there are some people who might enact this sort of legislation who unfortunately sexualize everything LGBTQ+, and there's sexuality in most everyone.
Yeah, I think many social media platforms are going to age verification. I mean, the technology was way ahead of the legislation that's out there to protect children. I know that there was a story a few years ago where those like cartoon stories that were on YouTube for kids, and then they were scrolling through them, and then all of a sudden they turned to the cartoons were murdering each other, just like a slippery slope that these kids were going there's no content filter there. So I think it's good. I mean, we all grew up at a time where, cable TV and things you had
22 years old. What are you talking
restricting
about?
Access for different times of the day and things like that. So, I mean, I don't think this is anything that's shocking, but I do think that the technology is so rapidly changing that they need to implement something,
absolutely.
For many reasons, not just pornography.
It was a bummer when I tried to access some of my reading material, but I understood it, and I didn't want to do that, so I may or may not have gotten a VPN. I had to do what you got to do. Just tried it.
Well, there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.